One bike part that takes an awful lot of abuse through the winter months are your brake calipers. They sit in full line of spray, particularly this rear one here, and yet they receive little to no maintenance, aside from checking your brake pads for wear, which I hope you do. And that is probably the reason why I have a drawer at home full of either broken or partly broken brake calipers. They either, when squeezed tight, do not spring back, or like this one, they're so stiff and sluggish that if you actually were to put it on your bike, your brakes would feel like total pants. And so, the question for this video is, can we bring them back to life? Can this Shimano 105 brake caliper be made to work again? Firstly, as you'll see, I have removed the brake pads. Now, there's going to be quite a lot of degreaser and grease flying around. Not flying around, accurately placed, honestly. But effectively, all they're going to do is get contaminated and they serve no purpose. So I have taken them off. And what are we left with then? Well, this is the most common design of brake for a road bike. It's called a dual pivot caliper. And if I turn it around, you'll see why. It's because it's got dual pivots. Each pivot controls one side of the brake and they need to work in tandem. Not for the brake to function full stop, but for it to function correctly so that when you pull on the brake, both pads hit the rim at the same time. And then when you let go of the brake, neither pad is left dragging. So effectively, you need something that is a long way away from this. How then are we going to bring this one back to life? Well, we are going to take it right back to its component parts, clean and re-grease the pivots, and then keep our fingers crossed. Because I'm not going to lie, I've never actually done this before. First things first, we are going to disassemble this central pivot here, mainly so that we can take this spring off and then make it a little bit easier to work with. So I'm using a 13mm spanner. We're remembering as well, of course, which order things come off in. Golden rule of dismantling stuff that you don't know how to put it back together again. With that nut out of the way, you can see there's nothing holding the end of our spring in. So very gently, I'm just going to lever it out. There we go, with a screwdriver. Right, keep a hold of that bit, the little plastic doodah, because that is very important. Okay, you can feel how stiff that is. No wonder that felt rank. Pull on the brake. Ugh. Next step, we're going to disassemble this, which happens to be our problem pivot. That second one there. So, formal Allen key. What are we going to find? What are we going to find? How much gunk is going to be in there? Oh, wash it. Well, I'm not going to lie, that doesn't look half as bad as I thought it was going to look. A bit of corrosion and exceedingly dry, but definitely salvageable. I'm feeling good about this. Let's tackle this final one. It's not too bad, but in the spirit of disassembling everything, we're going to take it off. Now, we have unfortunately come up against a slight problem. In trying to remove this final pivot bolt here, we have realized that the little 2mm grub screw that is just in there is actually seized. So, although the pivot still works, this was, remember, the one that did work, unfortunately, we can't actually take it off and give it a clean. So, frustratingly, that is going to have to stay put. Okay, in cleaning out this pivot that we are trying to renovate, I've discovered that there is an extra bushing in there. I might have guessed, but that is really good news because it means that we've got something that we can definitively clean and re-grease. And the best thing of all is it actually looks like it's in pretty good nick. We've got it broken down as much as we possibly can. Now, it's the elbow grease part. It's actually not that bad, there's not much to do, but we need to really, really clean these pivots up. That's going to be the secret. It'd be good to use some really thick weatherproof grease here because this is a job we don't really want to have to do again anytime soon. So the longer this lasts, the better. Kind of almost the moment of truth, screwing it back together. As you can see, plenty of grease gone on there. Feeling pretty good. Then we need to put the lock nut bolt on, that way around. When assembling this second pivot, there is a real trick here, and that is that when we're screwing the 4mm Allen key bolt in, it needs to be just tight, okay? Because if it's too tight, you're going to stop the pivot from actually working. But then, we of course need to lock it tight. So you need to then carefully screw the 10mm lock nut without actually adjusting the tension on the 5mm, 4mm. Right then, no spring in, and you can see that all the pivots are working well. Looks kind of weird like this, doesn't it? Like a puppet on a string. Right, let's put the spring back. Just snug that bolt down finger tight onto the spring. That's going to keep the spring in place. To seat the spring, I'm actually going to just protect my fingers with an old rag because it's a little bit painful, or it can be. Ah. He's in. Kind of a bit like butter. Yeah, buttery. Cinch that down. Seriously, that feels actually as good as new. I'm super excited about that. Yes! Look at that, it works. There we go then, one successfully salvaged Shimano 105 rear brake caliper. I'm actually proper chuffed with that. That is very cool. What have we learnt? Well, to take the spring off successfully, then you need to remove that 13mm lock nut first. That way you don't have to damage your fingers. And then really the success of this project is always going to come down to how clean you can get it and then re-greasing it. But there you go. How good is that? That can now go back in my drawer full of partly functioning brake calipers as a beacon of hope. It could actually go back on a bike and work. Genius. Now, do make sure that you've subscribed to GCN after this video. I'm sure you will have done, but if you haven't, if you do so, it gets you in the right place for every Maintenance Monday video and all the other 6 days of amazing content that you get here on GCN. To do it, just click on the globe. It is completely free. For another renovation video, why not click just over there and you get to see a rear derailleur being brought back from the dead. That's right, that too was a successful operation. Or to improve your braking performance, that's just over there. That is definitely a part of it, but there's more to it as well. So click over there to watch that.